Hello my dear friends, welcome to Live Prep. In the previous lecture, we studied about the nucleic acids and with that particular part was completed. And now we are going with the lipids, and already in the previous lecture and many times we studied that in the macromolecular fraction, in the acid insoluble fraction, we are getting total of 4 components: proteins, nucleic acids, polysaccharides and lipids. Okay. So already proteins and nucleic acids we have completed, and now we are going with the lipids. Because lipids are not polymers, we don't need to study much information regarding this. So simple individual units are present, and if we study some of them, that is enough. Please remember, in the lipids itself, in higher classes you will know so many types of lipids are there, but at our level we are studying very few types of lipids, and that information is more than enough. So that's why in the NCERT also very clearly, very simple, small information, that to single paragraph they give. That much is enough. And the same thing very clearly I will try to explain you, and some of these points are interlinked with cell chapter. In the cell chapter we studied about plasma membrane. In the plasma membrane also lipids are present, yes or no? Head group, two tails are present. That concept is once again interlinked here. So those points also I will discuss once again. Clear? So with this will be a very small information, but very important for examination, because many names you need to understand. How exactly they are giving this, that also you need to understand, because in NCERT simply they gave some small sentences, but if you don't know explanation, again it will become difficult. So that's why I will give the clear cut explanation. So let us quickly go through this particular information. We are starting with the lipids. First, if you see the nature of the lipids, what is the nature of the lipids? Are these lipids soluble in water or not? This is the most important point. Lipids are water insoluble. In general, if you are talking, lipids are water insoluble in nature. But some type of lipids like membrane phospholipids, they will have both hydrophilic and hydrophobic things. Yes or no? In this way also they are there, but more general sense if you are talking, so lipids are water insoluble. Majority of these lipids are not soluble in water. That's why we are writing like this. And what are the things that we are studying under this particular one? So that also I will tell you. So here, if we are talking about some simple forms of the lipids, different types of lipids are there. Slowly we will go into the complicated things. First we will see the simple. In this simple, in the NCERT they are talking about two types of lipids. First one they are talking is the fatty acids. Fatty acid, singular, plural if you are talking fatty acids. Next one is glycerol. Okay, so here what we are saying, only fatty acid you can consider as some simple form of a lipid. Only glycerol also you can consider as some simple form of the lipid, but majority of the lipids, how they are present? By the combination of these two. Majority of the lipids we are observing are, they are fatty acids plus glycerol. So when these two are attached, ester bond will be formed. Bond also I will tell you slowly. Okay. So here in this way, fatty acid esters of glycerol are called as lipids. They are also lipids. So in this way, different types of lipids we will study. So first what we are doing is, first we will observe only the fatty acids. What are these fatty acids? So fatty acid means COOH group is present, and for this here there is one R side chain. One group is present. Generally this is the aliphatic group. A long chain will be present, and in the number of carbons, what they are saying, for the R group, what is the number? In the NCERT they gave, generally it is in the range of 1 to 19 carbons. The number of carbons present in the R group is 1 to 19. So that number of carbons present in the fatty acid will be what? You just add plus 1. 1 plus 1 means 2. 19 plus 1 will be 20. Understood or not? So number of carbons present in the R group of fatty acid is generally in the range of 1 to 19. Please remember, sometimes even longer chains are also present. So since in NCERT they gave this one, with respect to that I am telling you this. Generally majority of the fatty acids that we are regularly studying, they are having 1 to 19 carbons in the R group. If you are talking the total, this is also a carbon. So if you are talking the carbon count, now what happens? 2 to 20 carbons are generally present in the entire fatty acid. This is the general sense we are talking. And in this case also, we are talking about again different types of fatty acids and what this R group can be. Anyhow, this COOH is fixed. COOH is fixed. This can be simple methyl group, or sometimes it may be CH2CH3, means ethyl group, or sometimes it may be again CH2CH2CH3, like this. Like this you can extend it. In this way any number of carbons can be present. Understood or not? So in this way generally here the number of carbons are in the range of 1 to 19 carbons. This is what generally they are saying in the NCERT. This is how different types, based on the number of carbons again, different names are possible. In this way so many types of fatty acids are present. And then we are talking about two types of fatty acids. These fatty acids mainly we are classifying into two types based on whether they are having double bonds or not. If they don't have double bonds, they are called as saturated fatty acids. They are called as saturated fatty acids. If they have the double bonds, then they are called as unsaturated fatty acids. Unsaturated fatty acids. Generally, we are observing double bonds in the fatty acids, not the triple bonds. Even triple bonds are also called as unsaturated, but generally in the fatty acids, we are observing double bonds. So here what happens? Double bonds, carbon-carbon double bonds, these are seen. Not everywhere, at least one is present. Even though one is present, still it is called unsaturated. So in this way, one or more these double bonds are present between the carbons, and that's why they are called as unsaturated. If all the carbons are having single bonds here, carbon-carbon single bonds are present, sigma bonds only present. Here this is the sigma bond. Here along with the sigma, pi bond is also present. That's why these are unsaturated, but these are saturated fatty acids. So in the case of saturated fatty acids, double bonds are not seen. All the bonds between the carbons are single bonds only. So in this way, all these are sigma bonds only. That's why it is called a saturated fatty acid. In this way, in the NCERT, they have given one example here. What was the NCERT example? Here they gave the palmitic acid. Palmitic acid. Palmitic acid. What is the total number of carbons in the palmitic acid? Total number of carbons in the palmitic acid is 16 carbons. And how you will write this one? COOH, one carbon is over. Next one is saturated, so it is completely CH2, 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 like this CH3. Understood or not? This is how. And from here to here, how many carbons are present in the R group? In the R group, 15 carbons are present. And in the COOH, 1 carbon is present. So total how many are present? 16 carbons are present. Understood or not? And the same information you can also write in a different way. How you will write this one? Instead of keeping this dot dot dot, so how you can easily write this? You can write this as CH3, CH2 14 times, COOH. Can you write like this or not? Can you write like this or not? Yes. So this is 1 carbon, 14 carbons. So total 15 carbons, and this is the 16th carbon. All these are saturated. Entire molecule is saturated, yes or no? So in this way also you can write the structure of palmitic acid. This is the NCERT example. So please remember, in the R group, total 15 carbons are present. And in the entire molecule, if you see, 16 carbons are present. So in this way, in the NCERT, they have given one example of palmitic acid having 16 carbons as an example for saturated fatty acid. Next one. Regarding the unsaturated fatty acid, in NCERT they used one name called arachidonic acid. Before going to that, first I will show you some examples, but please remember, once again I am telling you, you don't need to by heart these examples. If you can remember, it is okay, good. But at least NCERT examples you need to remember, okay? So in this way, now we are going with this particular table. Simply understand the information, that's it. Saturated fatty acids, some examples are there. And in the unsaturated again, two types of unsaturated are there. Mono unsaturated and poly unsaturated. What is this mono? Mono means single. That means in the entire molecule, only one carbon-carbon double bond is present. In this entire molecule, only one carbon-carbon double bond is present. That's why it is called mono unsaturated fatty acid. If more than one are present, that means either 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever is the number. If more than one are present, then it is called poly. Poly means what? Many, right? So polyunsaturated fatty acid. So based on this, generally here we are giving these names, MUFA and PUFA. What is this MUFA? Mono unsaturated fatty acid. Monounsaturated fatty acid will have only one carbon-carbon double bond. Polyunsaturated fatty acid, they will have more than one carbon-carbon double bonds. So in this way, unsaturated fatty acids are again two types based on number of double bonds again. Understood or not? And please remember, this MUFA and PUFA are very important for our cells. Understood or not? Along with this, even some small quantity of saturated fatty acids are also needed, but please remember, when compared with saturated, we need more unsaturated fatty acids. So that's why whatever the nuts that we are eating, whatever the oil that we are eating, from that actually we can get this unsaturated and saturated fatty acids. Okay, so please observe this particular content carefully. Next one. Under the saturated, here they gave some names simply for understanding purpose I am saying. Butyric acid. Butyric acid is having how many carbons? This first one in this sequence, if you see, so here 4 is to 0 they have given. What is this first one? First one indicates total number of carbons. Total number of carbons. After the is to, they have given, here they have given 0, but here they give 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6 like this. After the is to, whatever the number they have given, what is that number indicates? Number of double bonds they will indicate. That means in the butyric, this is the standard way of representation. Once again I am telling you, in this particular level of class 11th and 12th, you don't need to worry about this, but I am telling you the standard way of representation. Suppose by mistake in the examination they are giving like this, at least you should understand this. First one is the total number of carbons and next number indicates number of double bonds. 4 carbons are present in total, and the 0 double bond. 0 double bond means it is saturated. So that's why under the saturated, if you see here, all these are having 0 because unsaturations are not present. Double bonds are not present. That's why they gave the 0. That's why they are considered as saturated. Now, saturated fatty acid with 4 carbons is called butyric acid. Saturated fatty acid with 12 carbons is called lauric acid, and saturated fatty acid with 14 carbons is called myristic acid. But these names were not given in NCERT, so ignore this. I have underlined this one, palmitic acid. This was mentioned in NCERT. Palmitic acid is a 16 carbon containing, and there are no unsaturations. No unsaturations means it is saturated fatty acid. So it is 16 carbon saturated fatty acid is a palmitic acid. This was mentioned in NCERT, so please remember this. Next one, 18 carbon saturated. It is stearic acid. Not given in NCERT, so it is optional. Over. So these are some examples for saturated. Next one is monounsaturated. That means only one double bond is there. For that, one standard example is 18 carbon containing and then one double bond is present. And this one is oleic acid. OLEAC, oleic acid. And now you may understand in the representation. Here for this, within brackets they have given omega and then they have given the number. Generally, now observe carefully. Now you need to understand this. Even though not there in the syllabus, generally you may know about some omega-3 fatty acid containing capsules. If you are having some deficiencies, so generally some doctors are suggesting this. So you are purchasing them in the market and you are using it. But at least you just know what is that omega-3. I will tell you this. Suppose this is the COOH. As per IUPAC nomenclature, what happens? COOH, this carbon will get the number 1. And then carbon attached to this will be number 2. Carbon attached to this will be the number 3. Again, carbon attached to this is number 4. Like this you are writing, yes or no? Supposing this way, this is the 16th carbon. Let us see. Suppose all these are CH2s. Now it will be palmitic acid. Now I will give you one random example. Suppose you are keeping one double bond here. Generally, double bond position where we will say with respect to the number in the IUPAC nomenclature, with respect to this regular numbering, we will say that at the third carbon position there is a double bond. Like this we are saying that is the IUPAC nomenclature. But here that omega they used, no, that is not IUPAC nomenclature. That is just conventional nomenclature. There what they are saying is, whatever is the last carbon is there. Last carbon is omega carbon. Please observe carefully. Whatever is the last. If 16 carbons, 16th is the omega carbon. If total 20 carbons, 20 is the omega carbon. So whatever is the last carbon, that will be the omega carbon. And here they are giving the numbering of the double bond from the back side. From the last they are giving, from the omega carbon, what is the position of this double bond. So here they will give this particular one. Understood or not? Do you able to understand this? So in this way what happens? So if you want to give the number for this one, what you need to do? Total 16 are there and you need to mention about the fourth one. Then what you will say, this is the omega, out of 16 remove this 3. So it will be 13, yes or no? If you want to say this carbon, what is the position of this one? It is the 13th. From the back side it is 13. So if since double bond is present here, it is called omega 13. If just random example I am giving. Suppose this, if it is only one unsaturated, it is okay. Suppose here there is CH2. So since it is CH2, now you should not write H2 here. So adjust it automatically. Suppose here C, H, double bond, CH and dot 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 like this. Now here also double bond is there, here also double bond is there. Then how you will write? In this case, in this representation, what we are doing is, from the last side, wherever we are getting the first double bond, there only you will represent. Even though some double bonds are present here, we are not worried about that. So that we will not represent. Now in this case, how you will represent? Suppose this is the molecule. Even the two double bonds are there. What you will say? From the last carbon where the double bond is there. 1, 2, 3. At the third carbon it is there. So it is omega 3 fatty acid. Understood or not? So in this way, from the last carbon, in this way if you are moving, wherever you are getting the first double bond, there you will stop. What is the position of that number? From the back side you will give the number, and that is how you are giving this. So in this way, I hope now you understood this. In this way, here what they are saying, total number of carbons are 18 only. From the last carbon if you are counting, from the last if you are counting, at the ninth one, you will get this double bond. That's why it is called omega 9 fatty acid. Clear? Next one. Polyunsaturated. In this polyunsaturated, what the example they give? Total 18 carbons are present and double bonds are present at two locations. Even though they are present at two locations, in this omega numbering, what we are doing? From the last one, wherever you are getting the first one, there you will stop. So in this case, what they are saying, from the last carbon, if you are counting, from the at the sixth one, you will get the double bond. Understood or not? So this is why it is called as omega 6 fatty acid. In this way they have given these things. So there, anyhow we are not worried about this omega classification and all, so leave it. So 18 carbon, one unsaturation is present, its name is oleic acid. 18 carbons are present, but two double bonds are present. It is linoleic acid. And then 18 carbons are present, but three unsaturations are present. It is called linolenic acid. Even though these two are linolenic acids, again based on the position of these double bonds, again it may be omega 3 or omega 6. If it is omega 3, it is alpha linoleic. If it is omega 6, it is gamma linoleic acid. In this way, so many names are present, but these were not mentioned in NCERT, so ignore this. If you can understand the concept, that is enough. Leave it. You don't need to remember the names, but you need to remember the arachidonic acid because they have mentioned this in NCERT. What is this arachidonic acid? Total number of carbons are 20 carbons. That means R group is having 19 carbons. R group is having 19 carbons, but the entire fatty acid is having 20 carbons. And then how many double bonds are present? Total 4 double bonds are present. Total 4 double bonds are present. And the last double bond is at 6th carbon from the last side. That's why it is omega 6 fatty acid. And its name is arachidonic acid. AA is the standard abbreviation, arachidonic acid. So please remember this. Clear? In this way, in NCERT, one example for saturated fatty acid, one example for unsaturated fatty acid they give. So arachidonic acid will come under polyunsaturated or monounsaturated. It is a polyunsaturated because unsaturations are present at 4 locations. 4 double bonds are present. Okay. So in this way it is present. So that's why it is called as omega. So in this way it is called as polyunsaturated fatty acid. Okay. So in this way it is present, but originally if you want to observe this carefully, in the case of arachidonic acid, it is having unsaturations at 5, 8, 11 and 14. So in this way, at these positions, this double bonds are present. So don't worry about that omega and all. So these are the positions at which double bonds are present, and these numbers are also optional. If you want to remember, or else leave it. But please remember that arachidonic acid is an example for polyunsaturated fatty acid. That's it. This is what some basic information And with this, information regarding the fatty acids is completed. And now we are going with the next one, that is called glycerol. So initially we said no, some simple simple lipids. Simple lipids, there we wrote first one is called fatty acid. So just now we have completed the fatty acid. Now we are going with the next one, that is called glycerol. This glycerol is generally called as a glycerine. You can call it as glycerol or glycerine, but the technical word is the glycerol. Okay, technical word is the glycerol. You can also call it as the glycerine. And what is this one? It is actually having 3 carbons. It is having total 3 carbons. And for each carbon there is one hydroxyl group. Each carbon is having hydroxyl group. Now satisfy with hydrogens. It will be CH2, CH, CH2. So in this way, what is the name that you are giving? 1, 2, 3. If you are writing 1, 2, 3, trihydroxy propane. This is what the name of this one. Yes or no? 1, 2, 3, trihydroxy propane. So this is what the glycerol is. So this glycerol is also considered as a form of simple lipid. In this way, glycerol we studied separately and fatty acid we studied separately. And now what we need to do? We need to go for combination of these two. We need to combine them. This is what the glycerol is. And now we need to combine. How we are combining here? To the glycerol, this is only the glycerol. To the glycerol, if one fatty acid is attached, monoglyceride, mono means single. To the glycerol, if 2 fatty acids are attached, diglyceride. To the glycerol, if 3 fatty acids are attached, it is called triglyceride. So monoglyceride, diglyceride, triglyceride. These names were mentioned in NCERT. Now with the reaction I will try to explain you. So please try to understand this. Now we will talk about the glycerides, whether it is mono or di or triglycerides. So what are these? So glycerides. So glycerol should be there. CH2OH. CH2OH. This is how it is present. This is the glycerol. And to this glycerol, what should be attached? Fatty acid should be attached. In the fatty acid, COOH group is present. And then there is a R group here. Yes or no? That may be any group. And now we need to attach this. And if to this glycerol, if only one fatty acid is attached, now what happens? Now here OH of this and H of this, they are removed in the form of water molecule. If the water molecule is removed, now what is the bond that is formed here? This is the acid, this is the alcohol. Between acid and alcohol, what is the bond? It is the ester bond. So that is the reason why we are saying that fatty acid ester of glycerol is called as a lipid, because the bond between fatty acid and glycerol is ester bond. So this is what we are saying. So in this way, fatty acid ester of glycerol are called as lipids. Not only that, individual fatty acid, individual lipid is also considered as some simple form of the lipids. This is what they are saying. And now what is the name of this one? So glycerol with one fatty acid is called monoglyceride. Completed. Next one. If one more fatty acid is attached, now suppose this is R1, this is R2. Here once again, here water molecule is removed. Same reaction. Here once again water molecule is removed. And now what happens? Now here also ester bond is formed here. Now what happens? On single glycerol, 2 fatty acids are present. If 2 fatty acids are present, it is called as diglyceride. And now we will add one more. If third one is also attached, here also water molecule is removed. Same process. So here also water molecule is removed. And now what happens? Here also ester bond is formed. On the single glycerol, if 3 fatty acids are attached at 3 different positions, it is called as triglyceride. In this way, in the NCERT, they have given one example for this. In the NCERT, they have given this particular diagram. So please observe carefully. So in this way, glycerides are formed. Monoglyceride, diglyceride, triglyceride. First, let me show that one. And then separately, we will go with the phosphoglycerides. Monoglyceride, diglyceride, triglyceride. This is only the glycerol. One fatty acid attached, 2 fatty acids attached, 3 fatty acids attached. That's it. In this way also, we are studying about some types of lipids. And then separately, we are talking about oils and the fats. These are lipids only. Oils and fats, both of them are lipids only. But what is the general basis? What is the general basis for classifications of oils and the fats? Oil. So you can easily understand this. Oils are in liquid condition in the room temperature. Yes or no? Oils are in the liquid form in the room condition, room temperature. But these fats are solidified. So what might be the difference here? The melting point is the difference. Yes or no? So oils are having lower melting point. Since oils are having the lower melting point, if you are clearly observing this, even in the winters also you can see them as liquid form only. But if you are observing about the coconut oil, though it is oil, in the winters if the temperature is suddenly decreasing, then what happens? You can see that it is getting solidified. Why it is getting solidified? Because it is having more saturated fatty acids in it. Please remember, if more saturated fatty acids are present, now they are trying to become solidified. If they are having more unsaturated fatty acids, still they will remain in liquid form only. So as per the melting point, if you are talking, so oils are having less melting point, whereas fats are having high melting point. Because of this, at the room temperature, please remember, experimental purpose, room temperature means 25 degrees centigrade. Please remember this. In future, if you are going into the research, you will understand this. Suppose they are saying that this so and so experiment was performed at room temperature. Room temperature means in the summer you will get different room temperature, in winter you will get different, and in the rainy season you will get different temperature, and that too. So if you are present nearer to the equator, some temperature will be there. If you are going towards the poles, some temperature will be there. So that's why for the experimental purpose, room temperature means 25 degrees centigrade. So that's why the same technical word we are using here. At the room temperature, those which are present in the liquid form, they are called as oils. At the room temperature, those which are present in solid form, they are considered as the fats. And for this differentiation, what is the important point? Melting point. So oils are having a low melting point, that's why they are present in liquid form even at the room temperature. But these are having high melting point, so that's why they are becoming solidified at the room temperature. So if you are heating them, so upon heating, what happens? Temperature will be increased, then they may be liquefied. But upon again cooling, what happens? Again they will become the solid. So this is what, suppose you are taking some simple example from the market. Let us take the gingerly oil or sesame oil and all these oils, whatever the oils that we are purchasing. So at the room temperature they are present in liquid form. Suppose you are purchasing the ghee, okay, ghee. So generally it is present in the solid form at the room temperature. Suppose you are heating it, yes, it will become liquid. But once again you are leaving it for cooling, again it will become solidified. So that's why ghee is a very good example for the fat, and whatever the oils that we are using, so gingerly oil, sesame oil, all these things, these are examples for the oils. Okay, so in this way some basic difference they have mentioned in the NCERT, so please focus on this. And now let us come back to this phospholipids. Till now we studied about phosphoglycerides, monoglyceride, diglyceride, triglyceride. Now out of this, if you see membrane phospholipid, already we studied about the structure. So there is a head group, and there are tails that we studied. And in this structure, if you are observing, what are these tails? These tails are nothing but fatty acids. So how many tails are present? Two tails are present. In the membrane phospholipids, two tails are present. Two tails means, what are these two tails? These two are fatty acids. That means in these membrane lipids, how many fatty acids are present? Two fatty acids are present. Two fatty acids means they are a type of diglycerides. Yes or no? Two fatty acids are present means they are a type of diglycerides. So two fatty acids are present. But at the third carbon, what is present? Instead of fatty acid, phosphate group is present. Now we are talking about the phospholipids. Phospholipids. In these phospholipids, what is present? Phosphate group is present. Phospho, that's why they are having phosphate group. Along with the phosphate group, they will have two fatty acids. Now observe this content carefully. Now what is the general way of writing these phospholipids? First you need to write glycerol, CH2OH, CHOH, and then CH2OH. This is the glycerol, right? Let us see like this. And here two fatty acids should be attached. So attach the fatty acids. So here fatty acid, let us get as COOH, and this is R1. This is one fatty acid, and this is OH C double bond O R2. This is how. And please remember, generally, I am saying again general condition. In majority of the cases, in general, between the two fatty acids, generally one is saturated, one is unsaturated. This is the general condition. But depending on the specific requirements, both can be saturated, both can be unsaturated, anything is possible. But the general condition is generally one is saturated fatty acid, other one is unsaturated fatty acid. Clear? Now, attach them. So, water molecule should be removed. Here also water molecule should be removed so that ester bond is formed here. So, in this way, two fatty acids are attached. So, that's why it is example for diglyceride. And to this third carbon, what happens is phosphate group is attached. How this phosphate group is attached here? Observe carefully. P, double bond O, OH, OH, OH. Phosphoric acid. Phosphate group is nothing but phosphoric acid. Now, in this phosphoric acid, OH and hydrogen from this CH2OH, they are removed in the form of water molecule. So, remove this water molecule. So that now it is attached like this. And now this particular molecule is called as a phospholipid. Phosphate group is present attached to one carbon and two fatty acids are attached to the two carbons. In this way it is present, that's why it is called as phospholipid. And again, in this particular level of class 11th and 12th, they have given only one example. Lecithin they have given, right? So what is this lecithin again? Here to this phosphate again, there is a molecule called choline is attached. Choline is attached to this phosphate. So with the removal of this hydrogen, it is attached like this. And now it is called as what? Phosphatidylcholine. Phosphatidylcholine. What is this phosphatidylcholine? This phosphatidylcholine is nothing but a lecithin. This is the example that they have mentioned in the NCERT. If the choline molecule is attached to the phosphate group, now it is called a phosphatidylcholine. If serine molecule is attached, it is called a phosphatidylserine. If ethanol amine is attached to this, it will become phosphatidylethanol. In this way, different types of phospholipids are again possible. But in the NCERT, they gave only one example, that is the lecithin. If choline is attached to this, now this entire molecule is called as lecithin. Anyhow, in the NCERT, they have given the structure. You can remember that particular structure. Understood this or not? This is the basic structure. So in this way, generally these phospholipids are present. That's why in the membrane also different types of phospholipids are present. But at this level, we are not focusing on exactly each and every structure. We are studying superficially the basic information. So that's why we are studying like this. And now let us see this. In the case of membrane phospholipid, we are drawing a head and then we are drawing two tails. But what is that head group and what are these tails? That also we will see here. In the case of phospholipid, if you are observing, we are writing CH2O, C double bond O, R1. This is one fatty acid. Second one, CHO, C double bond O, R2. And then CH2O, P double bond O, OH and O, and it may be attached to some other group. Maybe different group. This is how membrane phospholipids are present. In this particular structure, what happens is, this is the head. Please observe carefully. This is the head group. Understood or not? And this is one tail and this is another tail. So these two are these two tails. I hope now you understood this. This is the head group. Head group is hydrophilic. Head group is hydrophilic so that it can interact with the water. Already I told all these concepts in the cell chapter itself. Please observe carefully. Head group is hydrophilic. It can easily interact with the water. Whereas these two fatty acids are the tails. These two fatty acids are the tails and they are hydrophobic in nature. hydrophobic in nature. So that's why in the case of the membranes, instead of forming single layer, they are forming the bilayer. And that will give more stability in the case of membranes. Understood or not? This is one important point. Again, you need to interlink with that cell chapter. So this is what the head group and two tails. And these two tails are fatty acids. And in the head group, what is present? Entire glycerol molecule and even that phosphate group with substituent are present. And that is making that head group. This is how they are present. And this is the NCERT diagram they have given. This is the glycerol. To first carbon, one fatty acid attached. To second carbon, one fatty acid is attached. To the third carbon, phosphate group is attached. And this phosphate group is further substituted with a different molecule. In this case, it is called as a choline molecule. That's why it is called as phosphatidylcholine. This phosphatidylcholine is nothing but lecithin. Phosphatidylcholine is also called as lecithin. So that's why in NCERT they have given this as lecithin molecule structure. So better you please practice this particular structure also. Clear? This is what the basic information. Basic information. Please remember this. This is what they are saying. And with this, actually NCERT information is completed. But please remember, in the human physiology, we will study a chapter called as neural control and coordination. In the neural control and coordination, we will study about the structure of the neuron. And for the structure of the neuron, we will study that around this neuron, there are some cells called as the Schwann cells. Schwann cells. So Schwann cells, suppose this is the axon. Around the axon, for the neuron, this long structure is called axon. Around the axon, the Schwann cell is present. What this Schwann cell will do? On the inner side of the Schwann cell, that means just above this axon, it is making one lipid layer. It is making one lipid layer. It is not only having lipids, it is also having some other components, but majority of the content is called as a lipid, and that particular layer is called as myelin sheath. I hope many of you know about at least the name. Don't worry, we will study these details separately. This myelin sheath, and this myelin sheath mainly it is having the lipids again. Mainly it is having the lipids. In this way, this is one interlinking point that you need to understand. Not only this, even though in NCERT they have not mentioned, in the botany part separately you will study about this lignin, soberin, cutin. Likewise, some molecules we are studying, they are water repellent or waterproof or water resistant molecules. They are also again lipid related molecules only. And not only this, in the case of membranes, we are studying about the cholesterol. Animal cell plasma membrane, we are studying cholesterol. Plant cell plasma membrane, we are studying about the phytosterols. In the fungal membranes, we are studying about ergosterols. Not only these steroids, there are different types of steroid molecules are present, yes or no? And there are some hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they are steroid molecules. In this way, different types of molecules are present here. Not only this, even in the case of brain also different types of lipids are present. They are called as gangliosides, cerebrosides, many are present. And there are different types of derived lipids are there. So many types of lipids are present. In higher classes you will study. And here they have not mentioned any of these. So that's why at least you just understand that. So different molecules are there. They are also lipid like molecules, lipid derivatives. So in this way, different types of molecules are present. If you see the NCERT diagram, they have given the structure of palmitic acid. It is an example for fatty acid. They have given the glycerol structure, and then they have given directly they give the triglyceride because the three fatty acids are attached. So in this way they give, and then they have given a phospholipid lecithin molecule structure they give, and separately they gave the cholesterol. Even though they gave the structure of cholesterol, they have not given any sentences here. So cholesterol already we studied in the cell chapter under the structure of the plasma membrane. So between these layers, cholesterol is present. Cholesterol is helping in maintenance of membrane fluidity. Not only this cholesterol derivatives are also, so many components are there, and they are having various roles here. So in this way, lipids are very important molecules, but please remember these are not polymers. They are individual molecules. That's it. These are not polymers. Polymer means there should be some repeating unit should be there, and it should be repeated for several number of times. But in the lipids, they are not like this. But why lipids are coming in the macromolecular fraction, that is acid insoluble fraction? Because lipids are hydrophobic in nature. But whatever the solvent we used, trichloroacetic acid, that is actually hydrophilic in nature. These two are not mixed. That's why all the lipids are separated and they got aggregated together and they are making some vesicles, and because of the vesicle formation, size is increased and now they are not passing through the cheesecloth. That is the reason why we are getting these lipids in the acid insoluble fraction. But originally, individual lipid, if you are observing the size, they are having less than 800 Daltons only. This is what the content that was given in NCERT. And now they have given one paragraph. Let us quickly go through this paragraph. With this lecture will be completed. Lipids are generally water insoluble. So generally, most of the lipids are not soluble in water. They could be simple fatty acids, they could be simple fatty acids, they could be simple glycerol, anything. So with respect to fatty acids, if you talk, a fatty acid has carboxyl group attached to R group. There is one COOH group and the COOH is attached to R group, and the R group could be simple methyl group or ethyl group, or it can be even higher number of carbons in the range of 1 to 19 carbons. So in the R group itself, 1 to 19 carbons may be present, so that generally in the entire fatty acid 2 to 20 carbons are present. Okay, generally, but even higher carbons also present. Next one, for example, palmitic acid has 16 carbons. So in the case of palmitic acid, 16 carbons are present, including carboxyl carbon. Including carboxyl carbon, 16 carbons means only in the R group how many are present? 15 are present. In this way also question can be asked. Next example they are talking is arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid has 20 carbon atoms, including the carboxyl carbon. Including carboxyl carbon 20 means only R group is having 19 carbons. And how many unsaturations are present in this? 4 unsaturation, 4 double bonds are present. But palmitic acid is saturated, it is not having any double bonds. So please understand this. Fatty acids could be saturated. Saturated means what? Without double bonds, or some are saturated, that means they are having either one or more carbon-carbon double bonds. For the saturated fatty acid example is palmitic acid, and the one or more they give. So if only one double bond is present, it is called monounsaturated fatty acid. If more are present, it is called polyunsaturated fatty acid. Arachidonic acid is example for polyunsaturated fatty acid. So that's a MOFA and POFA. MOFA is monounsaturated fatty acid. POFA is polyunsaturated fatty acid. See, these are some important examples. Next one, another simple lipid. Already they are saying that fatty acids are simple lipids. Now another simple lipid they are talking is the glycerol. So fatty acid you can call as lipid. Even glycerol also you can consider as a simple lipid. So another simple lipid is the glycerol, which is trihydroxypropane. 1, 2, 3 trihydroxypropane. Yes or no? Next one, many lipids have both glycerol and fatty acids. In many of the lipids, both of them are attached, so that they will form mono, di, triglycerides. Likewise, even phospholipids also. Next one, here fatty acids are found esterified with glycerol. Esterified. What is the meaning of this esterified? Between the fatty acid and glycerol, ester bond is present. That's what the meaning is. Ester bond is present between fatty acid and the glycerol. In this way, fatty acids are present esterified with the glycerol. Next one, they can be then monoglyceride, means single fatty acid containing, diglycerides, two fatty acids containing, or triglycerides, 3 fatty acid containing glycerol. Next one, these are also called as fats and oils based on the melting point. Based on the melting point, we are calling them as fats and oils. So oils will have less melting point, fats will have high melting point. This is what they are saying. Oils will have lower melting point like gingerly oil, and hence remain as oil even in the winters also. Even in the winters, even the temperature is decreasing, still they are present as oil. Understood or not? Next one, can you identify a fat from the market? From the market, can you identify some fats? Yes, we can easily identify. Ghee is an example for the fat, and not only this, vanaspati. Generally, the standard brand name is the dalda, but the technical word is the vanaspati. That is an important example for the saturated fatty acid. Okay, next one. Some lipids have phosphorus and a phosphorylated organic compound in them. In some cases of the lipids, phosphate group is present, and that phosphate group is again attached with some other organic compounds. In this way, different types of lipids can be observed. Next one, and here they are talking about that lecithin example. phosphate group, choline is present, phosphatidyl choline, that's why complete molecule is called lysine. That example they are talking here. Next one, these are called as phospholipids. Phosphate group containing lipids, that's why phospholipids. They are found in the cell membranes. Generally phospholipids are seen in the cell membranes. Lysine is one such example. So lysine is one such example. Phosphatidyl choline, phosphatidyl serine, phosphatidyl ethanolamine, likewise many types of phospholipids are present. Some tissues, especially in the neural tissues, they are having the lipids with more complex structures. But at this level, we are not studying those structures because they are highly complicated structures. Cerebrocytes, gangliocytes, not only this, many other types of lipids are present. So in this way, with this, the NCERT content of lipids is completed, and along with this, a few other points also we have studied. Clear? With this, lipids concept is completed. Anyhow, polymers are not present for lipids, so entire content of lipids is completed. So that in the next lecture we can go with carbohydrates. In the carbohydrates, what we will do is monosaccharides, disaccharides we will study separately, and polysaccharides we will try to study separately. Okay, based on the lecture length, so we can split that particular information. So with that, all the macromolecules will be completed, and in the micromolecules also amino acids completed, and some sugars also, simple sugars also will be completed. So in this way, majority of this particular chapter will be completed. Clear? Anyhow, in the next lecture we will meet. So until then, so with this particular concept is completed. Clear? So we will meet in the next lecture. Thank you so much.